put it on. And she
Oh
told
my
me,
God.
you see, it's all
And
nice
that
and folded. It's all nice and folded and everything. It's
and
her
that from
call.
a God-fearing woman.
All right. So we are approaching the end of chapter 4.
Mm.
And so I think we did 18 last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Advice on how to relate to people when they're in a different headspace than you. And that leads us to Mishnah 19, Shmuel HaKatan.
Little guy.
Shmuel, the small one.
Well, yeah.
Either he was short, or perhaps he was humble. And he said, Binfol oivecha al tismach, uvikashlo al yagel libecha. When your enemy falls, don't rejoice. Uvikashlo al yagel libecha. And if he trips, don't feel gladness inside your heart. Pen yireh Hashem, because Hashem's going to see that. Vera be'enav, it's going to be evil in his eyes. Vehishiv me'alav apo, and his anger is going to be removed from him. From him, I assume he's talking about the enemy. And where's the anger going to go? It's going to go onto you. So, this is, one of the reasons that we only say half of Hallel on Pesach, right, is because of this very reason.
Because we shouldn't rejoice with the death of the Egyptians at the water.
Yeah. Even if it's your oyev, even if it's your enemy, don't rejoice at their downfall. Pretty straightforward. Any comments? Questions?
What if you were the one who caused their downfall?
I think all the more. And it's not only advice in terms of, the first thing that I think of is like a war and battle and but the same is true in life and in work and in business and in friendship, Yeah.
I have to tell you that when my son Benji was growing up, I was coach. I was director, and I told the kids, all of them, and I told especially the coaches, it's so easy to celebrate when you win, but you cannot be very upset when you lose, because there's only one winner and there's like 5 losers. So what we're going to be teaching you is how to lose with dignity, how to lose so that the kids don't feel like animosity towards the people that won.
Right. Yeah. I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan. When I was in high school at that age, the Bulls were like the team. Michael Jordan was the athlete. And I'll never forget when the Bulls lost to the Pistons. I think we're talking about 1990 and 91. They lost 2 years in a row to the Pistons. They came back the next year. And first of all, they lost. And at the end of the game, they shook hands. They said, good game. The next year, I think it was 92, they beat the Pistons. And the Pistons, with about 10 seconds left in the game still, walked off the court. Did not come shake hands. Did not. Michael Jordan hated Isaiah Thomas. To this day, they still don't get along. And if anyone likes those teams and those years, Netflix has a wonderful series called The Last Dance, which sort of chronicles the Bulls, journey through the 90s. It's an unbelievable series, and something that is throughout that series is the Bulls' sportsmanship. You know, Michael Jordan, who was the best player perhaps ever, was such a sportsman and really wished everyone well, you know, worked his butt off, won championship after championship, but was the first one to, you know, congratulate the team on a game well played, and it was just so nice to see that from him, you know.
Unfortunately, the way of the world today, this would be a very good lesson in many, many instances, because
Yes.
that's not the world today.
If only this was going viral.
Exactly.
As opposed to everything.
You're
Let's start
absolutely
training.
right,
Yeah.
cousin.
Mishnah 20. Elisha ben Avuya Omer. This guy is not familiar to me. Well, let's see what he said. Halomed yeled lemahu domeh. A child who learns, what does that compare to? Lidio chtuva al niyar chadash. To ink that's being written on a new paper. Right? A kid, it's new. It's like a blank paper and it's new ink. V'halomed zaken lemahu domeh. And someone who was older that is learning, what does that compare to? Lidioch tuva al niyar machuk. That's a very interesting statement. To ink written on a paper that has been erased.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
I don't know. I think that's disrespectful.
I don't. I mean, to me, I think it's so true. I know that when I learn something together with my grandchildren, okay, and most of the times I forget all the details, they remember everything.
Oh, so so that's a very interesting interpretation. That's not the interpretation I had, Elliot.
Oh,
very interesting. So my interpretation was not that what you learned was just erased, that you are writing on a page that has been erased a few times, right? That someone who is older, that has experience, has written things on the page and has also erased, because we all make mistakes, we all learn and, you know, relearn. And so that's what it's domeh. That's why it's compared to that, because the page isn't new. The page has been written on before, and you know, many things have been erased. So it's not what was just learned was erased because I'm old and I forget things. It's we are writing on a page that has been, you know, erased before because I have made mistakes.
But it's also called experience, no?
That's it. Yeah.
well, that's what it is. So the young people have no experience. Therefore, what? Did they remember everything?
To me,
do we remember everything,
No,
but we
no.
interpret it, and so then that we forget some of the new things we learned because we've already learned it in the past. Okay, and or we learned something about it, and we have experience, and now I don't want to learn this again, or I learned it and I made a mistake then, so I don't want to learn it again. You know what? I like Adam's interpretation better than mine.
Isn't it more that a young person, when they're learning something, they're learning it for the first time, so for them it's new. But for an older person, if you're learning something, every time you learn something, you see it in a different light because of everything that you've already known. Yeah, you forget things too, but you see different things in it, so you have different interpretations. So maybe you understood it one way the first time you learned it, but now you understand it a different way and you see nuances in it.
I think that's great. That's great. Yeah.
It reminds me when I've read certain books, you know, like, I don't know, I love reading The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and I read it when I was young, but then I read it a second time when I was a bit older, and it was like reading it new. It was like I saw things in there that I didn't see the first time I read it. Because you're older, you have more experience, you understand things differently. So every time you learn something, you get something new out of it.
Yep. That's good. That's good.
Let's see what the rest of the Mishnah says. Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda Ish Kfar Habavli Omer, Rabbi Yossi's son of Rabbi Yehuda, who was a man from Kfar Habavli, says, Halomed min aktanim lemahu domeh, someone who learns from the young. What does that compare to? Leochel anavim kehot v'shoteh yain migito. Someone who eats grapes that are not yet ripe and drinks wine from the press. V'alomed min hazkenim lemahu domen. Someone who learns from older people. To what is that compared to? Leochel anavim b'shelot v'shoteh yain yashan. Someone who eats ripe grapes and drinks aged wine. Rabbi says, Al tistakel b'kankan. Don't look at the jar, at the vessel. Ela b'ma sheyesh bo. Only what is inside of it. Yesh kankan chadash malei yashan. There are new vessels that are filled with things that are old. V'yashan she'afilu chadash en bo. And there are old that even don't have anything new in it.
I think it just means you can learn from everybody. Like, you can learn from young people, you can learn from experienced people.
Mhm.
And don't think that, oh, this person is young, what do they know? They don't know anything. But that's not the point. You should be able to learn, you should be able to take something from anybody, no matter how experienced they are.
Mhm.
True, but I feel that the Mishnah has a tone of saying that when you learn from someone older, there's a certain ripeness that's there. And the wine is different, when you learn from someone who's younger, the grapes are not yet ripe and the wine is new, right? It's right from the press.
Didn't we learn a while ago that who is wise, he who learns from everyone?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Elliot that sometimes when you learn with somebody who is younger, because they haven't learned preconceived ways of looking at the world, they see the world differently without constraints, and things come out that you look at them and you wonder, where did they get that? Like how profound that is. So I'm going to agree with Elliot on that. It's so true.
Thank you for eloquently saying exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, beautiful. So I'll tell you, yesterday, we're outside in the backyard. It's a beautiful day. And Yehel and I are on our deck. And the boys are down below. And there's grass and playing whatever it is. And they all come up and they say, Abba, there's dead animals downstairs. And Yehel and she looks at me like, are you going? And I look at her like, are you going? I guess, so I guess it was my turn to go. And I go, and they were correct. I had 4 or 5 dead rabbits that were around my yard, and we think a groundhog dug into the grass and was sort of storing them. And I tell you, this is not my, forte here. I mean, there's a reason that I didn't go to med school. Blood and this is not for me. Unless I'm throwing it on a grill, it's not for me. So, and I had the heebie-jeebies, and Yahel had. We were just like so gross, And my kids were unfazed. They were completely unfazed, and they were curious. How did they die? What happened to them? And there was no no issue, no being grossed out for them. It was okay. There was a dead rabbit there, right? But it was the life that I have led, I guess, I had all these. So I was, completely. And it was, it was just so they just saw it for what it was. Yeah, that was yesterday's excitement. Yeah.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Exactly.
So
And then
what was the end of the story? Did you leave the dead animals there?
no, I had to get rid of them.
Who did the done?
Me.
Oh,
Yeah, the real Father's Day was spending Shabbat afternoon in the emergency room with Yahav, who fell and cut his head open. That was something else. Thankfully, he's fine. And they were able to glue it closed and, steri strip it closed. He didn't even need stitches, so that was good. But that was some action. Yeah.
It's interesting here that they were quoting, from rabbis, but Elisha ben Avua, they don't say he's a rabbi.
There's a few names that have come up that have not had the title rabbi.
I noticed that. I thought that would be only it's ethics of the fathers, but I guess the fathers are not necessarily rabbis.
No, yeah.
Could they be students?
They could be students. They could be people. You kind of get the sense that the Mishnah is compiled right out of the Beit Midrash, right out of the study hall. That these were all conversations, and these were lessons that were passed down, and at the risk of being lost, they were compiled and published. Not without pushback and revolt, mind you, because there was a thought that these things were too holy to be written down. But they were written down, and I think we're all thankful that they were.
Oh, I looked him up in Wikipedia. Was a rabbi and a Jewish religious authority born in Jerusalem sometime before the 70 CE. After he adopted a worldview considered heretical by his fellow Tanim and betrayed his people, the rabbis of the Talmud refrained from relating teachings in his name and referring to him as the other.
Huh.
Whether that is...
Know what I call that? I call that shul politics.
It's a good thing we've learned about it. So now, today, we're not anywhere near things like that, right?
No.
Right, Adam?
That's I would hope not. But even see in the Ashei Knesset Hagdolah and in the courts of old and in the old yeshivas, they were not without heretics and fighting, and you can only imagine what was going on there.
Some things never change.
Perhaps one of the reasons that the second temple was destroyed.
Are people.
Yeah, people are people. That's
Humans
it.
are humans.
Yeah.
Human nature has not changed from day one.
Rabbi Elazar HaKapar says, Hakina, and this is interesting because this is kind of what we were just talking about. Kin'a, ta'ava, and kavod, jealousy, lust, and honor. Motzi'in et ha'adam min ha'olam, remove a person from this world.
It's a good thing there's only three. Interesting that they chose these three. I mean, it's so true, but there's got to be others. All right, more studying.
I'm sure there are others, and I like the fact that Safaria added in the desire for honor, right? Because I don't think that there's anything wrong with being honored by people, but if it's something that you desire, then that's not such a great quality.
Didn't we learn before who is honored? Those that honor other people. So you're not supposed to. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So everything is like interconnected.
They're almost base desires, right? They're very low level. They're not like on Maslow's. Maybe envy is higher, but lust, it's a very low level desire.
A basic level,
Yeah, very basic.
not low. It's
Yeah,
very
no,
strong.
exactly.
It gets a lot of airtime.
Gets a lot of airtime.
Yeah. I mean, how would you define lust?
It could be for many things. Could be lust for money, lust for sexual, lust for food. Like it's not controlled, right?
Right.
Lust for honor.
Well, yeah.
Well, then why would they mention it separately then? I think lust has only one really meaning. Okay, it's
Physical lust.
Lust for what you don't have
good. I
yet.
like that. Physical. I think that's what it is.
What does
Jealousy.
kapar mean? Hakapar.
The first thing that came up when I just looked at it for a definition is very strong sexual desire.
Right.
Lust is a psychological force producing intense desire for, hold on, desire for an object or circumstance while already having a significant other amount of the desired object. Here. Lust can take any form, such as a lust for sexuality, money, or power.
Yeah. It's a inability to contain oneself, no self-control.
Huh.
I was wondering what hakapar means. Rabbi Eliezer hakapar.
Yeah, I'm looking that up, and I'm not being successful.
Hakapar.
Here it is. Again, Wikipedia, if we believe it, was a Jewish rabbi of the fifth and last generation of the Tanim era. He was a colleague of Yehuda Nasi and was in the company of him occasionally. He spent most of his life at the ancient Katzrim, and he was the father of Bar Kapara, who is sometimes cited by the same name.
I'm not sure what kapar means. Gail, any idea?
Yeah, I went to get my my translation because I don't remember anything in Hebrew that means that is written like that.
No.
So let me look up.
Kapar.
What? Kuf. Peiresh. Where's my translation there?
Is this the first time he is mentioned?
I don't think we've seen him yet.
That's correct. Because usually I have an interpretation for that, but it's nothing. All they talk about is jealousy, lust, and desire for honor. So
yeah, it looks like that's the only
reference to him.
Yeah. Oh, wait. I might be something else. I'm just looking at the Jewish Encyclopedia. There's something in the Mishnah,
Nothing in translate.
I mean, kapar, even if it's with a kuf, it could mean he's from the town.
Of Kapar.
What town of Kapar?
No, kfar. He's, if he's from
Yeah.
Katrine, it could be kfar. It could be maybe he
From a
was
village.
maybe it could be kapara. It could maybe be that he was one to forgive. I don't know. It's his name, but he has more to say. So let's see. Hu haya omer hayilodim lamut v'hametim lehechayot.
Yeah.
Those that were born will die. Those that have died will live. V'hachayim lidon. And the ones who are alive will be judged. Leda lehodia ulehivada shehu el hu hayotzer hu abore hu amevin. To know in all tenses that he is Hashem, hu el hu hayotzer, he is the creator. Hu habore, also he is the designer, he is the creator. Hu hamevin, he is the one that understands. Hu hadayan, he's the judge. Hu ha'ed, he is the witness. Hu ba'al din, he is the master of judgment. Vehu atid ladun, and he in the future will judge. Baruch hu, the blessed is he, she'en lefanav lo avla, that he has no weakness. Velo shichecha, does not forget. Velo maso panim, does not show favor. Velo mikach shochad, and does not take bribes. Shehakol shelo, for everything is his. V'da shehakol lefi hacheshbon. This is not the first time that we've seen this phrase. Da shehakol lefi hacheshbon. Know that everything is on the cheshbon. It's on the bill, right? Like when we finish the meal, cheshbon vakasha. Everything is on the bill. Ve'al yavtichacha yetzecha shehasheol bet manos lach. And don't hope that that you're not going to go to Sheol. That this is let's see how Zephyr translate this.
Not gonna go to hell.
Okay, don't think that death is really going to save you, right? It's not. Death isn't. Bet manos, sanctuary for you, a safe haven for you. She'al karchacha atanotzar, because against your will you were fashioned. Ve'al korchacha atanolad, against your will you were born, and against your will you live. Atachai and atamet, and you will die. Ve'al korchacha ta'atid liten din v'cheshbon lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu, and it's against your will that you will be judged in the future, in front of the King of all kings, hakadosh baruch hu. So, pretty
heavy stuff.
Intense, pretty intense Mishnah. Sounds like Rabbi Elazar Hakapar was an intense guy, and
interesting. It says that he's going to drive a man from the world. So that means,
what's going to drive a man from the world?
So now what happens is you have to die and be reborn in order to see all the good and exactly what life is like. That's what it seems like here. You have to die and come back. You're judged, and you come back, and then you're convinced that Hashem is Hashem, and He is Aleph Bet Gimel Dalet Hey. So why don't you realize it right now? Because You see, we have nothing to fall back on. Do you know anybody that passed away and came back? I'm still waiting for Houdini. Okay, to know, because the truth is we don't even know what's on the other world. But again, jealousy, lust, and honor is going to drive man from this world, but everybody's going to die. So everybody's going to leave this world. You know what? It's
So I'll just give like another angle to it. Hametim lehechayot perhaps doesn't mean that you come back to this world. You know, lehechayot could mean, you know, olam haba, that you die. And even science, I think, tells us that, energy gets, transferred, right? There's this where if you stomp out something that has energy, it'll attach itself to something else, So perhaps death is not really the end of the road, but there's what we call chai still. There's still life in an altered state that we have no idea what's going on. But the Mishnah is telling us the hachayim lidon, but that life you will still be judged to know that He is Hashem.
So if you're living in a world full of jealousy, lust, and desire for honor, that will pass. And then you're going to come into a new life in this life. You're going to be coming into a new way of life. And then you're going to see that God is really Hashem.
Perhaps.
Maybe that's what it is. Within this lifetime, you are reborn many times. I know my outlook on life has changed over the course of the years. Maybe that's what it means. Or all of the above.
Right.
No, like the rabbi said, you're right. No, you're right. Everybody's right. Interesting thought. All right, I'll think about it a little bit more.
And that's the end of chapter 4, friends.
So I just wanted to say, I looked up Eliezer HaKapara on Wikipedia, and he was the father of a rabbi called Bar Kapara. And he used to tell stories until that people liked the story so much they were sitting and not eating, and the food was getting cold. And once he made he told somebody to tell a riddle to his rabbi that was insulting, and that's why they never called him rabbi. So I don't know. Kapara probably comes from the word kapara.
Which means?
Which means kapara is when you atone.
Yeah.
Atonement.
So he had some atoning to do because he told some off-color jokes to his rabbis. He got kicked out of class.
Yeah. And they never referred to him in the books as a rabbi.
Right. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I was late.
Okay. Chapter